Good morning, welcome to New Day on TV3, your most authentic and informative as well as entertaining morning show ever. My name is Solis Rose Quarter. Let's start off today's show with the morning news. All right, let's start with this story. And the fifth prosecution witness in the case involving Gregory Afoko, who is facing trial for the murder of a former Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Adams Mahama, has expressed worry over the constant adjournment of the case. The court on Tuesday adjourned to March 15 after one of the jurors was reported sick.
This case has been adjourned for the fourth time since the fifth prosecution witness, Awako Akilisia, was called. Some of the reasons for adjournment were non-availability of an interpreter and absence of prosecution. The prosecution witness, however, was not happy with the situation and told the court that traveling from the Upper East to Accra is taking a toll on his health. The presiding judge, Justice Lawrence Lazagla-Mensah, apologized to him and assured him the parties will be available for the case to continue on Thursday. Justice Lazagla-Mensah on January 26 ordered both parties to work expeditiously for the trial to end by June 2018.
Don't forget that we're live on DSTV channel 279 and to other stories. The Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwo, has justified the burning of 14 tipper trucks and other mining equipment by members of Operation Vanguard in the Kumbungu district of the Northern Region. Now, responding to a statement from the Member of Parliament for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak, on the incident, Dominic Nitiwo said the soldiers had to resort to such an action to deal with the recalcitrant illegal miners. His answer instigated heated arguments between the two deputy speakers of Parliament.
The Operation Vanguard team last week set ablaze machinery and equipment used for sand winning in the Kumbungu district, following several warnings from the Ghana Water Company over the pollution of the Dalon River. The incident caused anger amongst the owners of the vehicles and the minority MPs. The MP for the area, Ras Mubarak, in a statement on the floor of Parliament, condemned the act, calling for investigations and possible compensation to be paid to the owners.
I pray that your kind office will direct for an immediate investigation into the operations in my constituency to find out whether or not the truckers were actually polluting the river, and if not, prescribe appropriate compensations to people whose equipment and trucks were touched.
Responding to the issues, Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo said that was the best approach under the circumstance.
This is not the first time that the Ghana Armed Forces or through the government has taken a decision to stop people through the use of force and burning. Mr. Speaker, you will remember that 3 years ago, in Ashanti region, a company called Hun9 got over 50 excavators burnt in Ashanti region by the previous government. They have the right to seek redress on the burning of the equipment. Nobody will stop them from seeking redress. They have every absolute right to seek redress. They have every right, and I will support them to seek redress. But that is for the courts and then for the high authorities to take that decision, not me.
The minority leader, Haruna Idusu, took a swipe at him for justifying an illegality.
A lawless country, this is not a banana republic. Our loyalty is to the laws of Ghana. And we will not accept the relegation and subjudication of the laws of Ghana to might is right. Minister for Defense, be informed that you are not above the laws of Ghana. The armed forces not above the laws of Ghana. The military not above the laws of Ghana. But be assured that if you use legitimate due process in accord with law to preserve the environment and water bodies, you have our absolute support. But lawlessness, you won't get our support today, you won't get it tomorrow, you won't get it forever. The days of impunity in this country are over.
exchanges became intense between the two deputy speakers.
It is true that we have a legislation that is saying if you arrest people, seize the equipment. But some members of us here can attest when the Committee on Roads and Transport went on an inspection tour in the Central Region. We just stopped by River Ofing, and by the way, it's no longer a river. You can't see any water. All you see is mud. And we saw watercrafts on the water body mining the floor of the river. And as soon as our vehicle stopped, they just jumped into the water and disappeared. Now, if I had gone for an operation, should I leave the equipment there for them to come back to continue with? Mr. Speaker, extreme behavior must be met with extreme response.
You don't solve murders by murdering others. You don't. If, my brother, if that had been the situation, by this time, armed robbery would have stopped. Mr. Speaker, I think there are better ways, and I believe that we should sit together, think through this matter, craft out measures, and solve the problem. Mr. Speaker, I don't support any Ghanaian killing any Ghanaian. And I don't support the use of force as a means or solution to any problem. It is not this government that started it. The previous government did the same. Did they succeed? You think you will succeed?
Yes.
I am telling you, capital no. Unless you change. I am saying that unless you change, there is no way you can succeed in eliminating galamsey in this country. By use of force, it won't happen.
The speaker moved in and directed the appropriate authorities to take the matter up. At least 14 tipper trucks and an excavator were burned by a crack team of military personnel after several warnings to sand winners to stop their illegal activity close to the Dallon River.
Now from Parliament, let's do some issues regarding sanitation. And government's indebtedness to waste collecting companies and managers of landfill operating sites is running into 800 million Ghana cedis. This is leading to operational difficulties, especially at the Oti landfill site in Kumasi. The Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Joseph Kofi Adda, has explained that government is endeavoring to settle at least half of its indebtedness by the end of 2018. This is a report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
Sanitation and Water Resources Minister Kofi Adda, together with the Municipal Chief Executive of Kumasi, Osei Esibe Entry, toured the Oti landfill site to monitor how solid and liquid waste is managed. Kofi Adda spoke on government's plans to settle debt.
We have submitted the debts to the Minister of Finance, and we're waiting for the Minister of Finance to release the money to us so that we can pay off part of it. But it's a huge debt. The debt in the sanitation subsector is not just about the landfill sites alone. We also owe them for even the sweeping and the collection and the transporting of the waste. All of that adds up to about 800 million cedis. And so we have to negotiate and structure the repayments so that we can accommodate within the government's financial program.
The Sanitation Minister advised the public not to build close to landfill sites. Kofi Adda also announced the deployment of ICT for improved waste disposal, including the embedding of chips on waste containers to track their movement. Meanwhile, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has launched an exercise to brand waste collection tricycles, locally referred to as Aboboya. The move is to register all waste collection tricycles and make their identification and regulation easier. Kumasi Municipal Chief Executive Osei Esibe Entry said the Assembly has instituted measures to improve sanitation in the municipality. The Assembly intends to bring back the serene character of the Garden City, Kumasi.
Still on sanitation in Kumasi, the disposal of untreated fecal matter in open drains is a source of health concern for residents of Oti Kuwait. in Kumasi. A pungent smell engulfs the community as over 100 trucks carrying fecal matter dislodge their contents in open drains which flow into the Oda River. A report by Beatrice Spiel-Gabra. Oti Kuwait houses the landfill site within the Kumasi metropolis. Here, all solid waste generated in Kumasi and surrounding communities is disposed of. Besides the solid waste, the landfill also serves as the final destination for fecal matter. However, for close to a year now, the stabilization pond system at the site that treats liquid waste has broken down. As a temporary measure to dispose of fecal matter, a nearby drain became the solution for the assembly. This has, however, exposed residents of Oti Kuwait to health problems. Some residents who spoke to TV3 said some property owners have had to vacate their houses. Those who have nowhere to go have no option than to endure the health risks of living with the stench, flies and mosquitoes.
The weight of pollution, they have been dumping, the color of the river have changed all black. So I decided to farm out, or to come here to make these trucks, dumping on trailer faces into a gutter that flows through the bridge, then down to the river. And this river food serves a lot of community.
Yeah, it had a brepa. Because I dear Bechibia no casa on the Bahan, a bit toilet a guhanum no, Untiminkai. Omufian so na Jihanina Babiafa. Oya Mufi me Baha be 2 years in it. Never inside the hole. Na Heidi Omudi has yet the good hanamano, a bear 1 year ni. A tinico or Danimu.
Director of Waste Management at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Prosper Kotuka, disclosed rehabilitation works on the stabilization pond system is underway with some added intervention such as a settling tank.
As we speak, there is a contractor on site doing the remedial works to ensure that the facility is brought back to its original state. Also rehabilitating the 2 anaerobic ponds. We would have drying beds, 8 of them, to take care of the sludge.
He said work will be completed by the end of this month. The bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST has described allegations by Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEX Duncan Amwa that the company has caused financial loss to the state in the sale of 1.8 million barrels of crude oil as untrue and a total display of ignorance on issues of oil trade. The head of fuel trade, Albert Mante, has also called for the arrest of the executive secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, for making false allegations and issuing death threats.
Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwa, had alleged the crude oil was sold to the private company BB Energy at a discount of $2 a barrel when prices on the international market were on the rise. This claim bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST says is no news because giving a discount in the sale of oil is accepted in the commodity business. BOST said the decision of refining the product was an arrangement between the Tema Oil Refinery TOR and BB Energy. Again, the bulk oil storage and transportation company wondered where the COPEC boss got the 1.8 million barrels of crude he alleged was sold to BB Energy. Head of fuel trade at BOST, Albert Mante, said the actual sale price was 942,000 barrels.
The question is, if the quantity that came in was 940, how do you sell 1.8? So it doesn't just, it's not logic to say, okay, prices have increased. Yeah, prices might increase, but if nobody has come to buy, who are you going to sell it to? So it's just practically impossible about his accusation. There's no financial loss. Can Amoa make an assertion that we sold the product discounted by $2 per barrel? I want to put it on record that it is not out of place in the commodity market to give discount.
Albert Mante says Duncan Amwa should come out and support his claims of death threats.
Duncan Amwa should be behind bars by now. Because...
On record?
On record. Because it's a death threats. If somebody threatens you that he'll kill you or he'll harm you, the law is clear on it. You go to police station and that person will go and sign a bond. So Dankana Moa, claiming he has been threatened and is still walking around, is worrying. We have given it to our lawyers for them to now go and support his claim. And whoever threatens him, he now have to go through the law to answer those questions.
Chronicling the process of the sale of the crude oil, Bost has concluded the allegations by COPEC is carefully fabricated to tarnish the image of its boss, Alfred Obeng-Boateng.
2015 March, Bost was in the media about Bost and TSL transaction. 2016 March, Bost was in the media about Bost and staff restructuring and TSL transaction. 2017 March, Bost was in the media over contaminated products. We are in March. Bost is again in the media. We understand the history behind this because every time and then, Bost revives its operation. And when the signal fall out there, because some traders will not be happy, and they have always not been happy for Bost to improve on, then they will come threatening, using other means, shape and form.
The company says it remains resolute in their activities to remain accountable to Ghanaians.
With the high cost of import duties and the high volume of cheap imported goods from China, the stage is set for the demise of government's agenda to promote made-in-Ghana goods, especially the production of textiles. Textile traders at Makola markets are using 90% of their capital to import foreign-made textile materials from China to augment local demand, while locally manufactured textile materials are not being promoted.
It's 1 p.m. Monday afternoon, and business is booming for traders in African textiles here at Makola Market. Patrons walk in to make their selections, but sadly, almost everyone is buying the imported African prints.
I target 45, GTP 85.
I wanted to buy GTP, but the China one is cheaper.
The worrying trend of the influx of cheap foreign-made African textiles appears to be deepening the woes of the textile industry in Ghana.
So I'm in one of such shops here at Makola Market, and on display are various African prints. What I hold here is made in China, high target they call it, and what I have here on my chest is GTP made in Ghana. The GTP is going for 75 Ghana cedis, and this is 45 Ghana cedis, almost half the price. But on display, you don't see the difference between the two fabrics.
Piracy is the industry's largest threat. The woes of the industry started in the early 2000s, when original designs made by Ghanaian textile companies were stolen, pirated, and reproduced cheaply in China. These products are being imported back onto the Ghanaian market.
China, the government is helping them because of the export. They have most of the things free, especially something like steam.
Mama Wu has been in the textile business for only 4 months, but she can attest to the overwhelming crave of customers for imported African textiles from China.
For business, I mean, if you want people to buy more, so if they go for the high target, that's fine.
Textiles made in Ghana by GTP are reputed to be of superior quality and cannot be matched anywhere in the world.
When you look at the GTP, the texture is soft and the quality is much better because you can also wash it. It's not going to fade as much as the high target.
These women prefer to stock more of the China-made textiles because they claim it is more profitable.
Before you can get GTP, you spend like 1 billion to get a lot of it. And it will not move. You spend 1 billion on a high target. So you see how people will be coming and be buying, before you know, get your money and you go to the market again and get it.
E.T. Kennedy is a former employee of GTP Textiles. Having worked with the company for 42 years, he attempts to explain the high cost of locally manufactured textiles.
They try to maintain the standards, and the standards come with a cost. The grey baths, chemicals, the dye stocks and whatnot, they are all imported. After you've gone through your cost, you have to add the VAT to it. But these who import these things, they don't pay VAT.
Ghana's textile industry, which used to employ over 25,000 people, has declined in production since 2005. There has been massive layoff of workers, and indigenous Ghanaian textile producing industries cannot make their mark on the markets due to the importation of cheap Chinese textiles. Currently, the industry employs a little over 2,000 workers and is near collapse. As Ghanaians are encouraged to patronize made in Ghana products this month of March and beyond, it is unclear whether Ghanaians will have the financial muscle to afford locally manufactured textile products. Etonamse, TV3.
Well, regardless of that, we're still celebrating GH, wearing Ghana, eating Ghana, and seeing everything Ghanaian. Well, that's all for Morning News on TV3. Don't forget, you can always get interactive with us via our Twitter handles, as well as Facebook and Instagram. My name is Solis Rose Quarter. NewDay continues after this. Good morning.
Welcome back. Let's start off with newspaper headlines. Ghanaian Times has interesting stories. It says, ban contracts for retirees. It's a drain on national coffers. That's coming from the Auditor General. Also, stop $2 million food import and produce locally. That's coming from the Ambassador of Netherlands. Then also, Mr. Alan Chermating, it's Minister for Trade and Industry. It says Indo-Ghana Chamber of Commerce launched in Delhi. Then finally, IFS is saying Ghana's interest payment on public debt to hit $69 billion cedis by year ending. Interesting stories there. I'm worried about contracts for retirees because it is a real drain on the national purse.
Is it?
It also blocks the chances of younger people being employed. I give you this example. If we have 10 people who need to, satisfy a particular requirement to be able to produce or be effective in a job, and you have a contract person, an older person who's supposed to be on pension, occupying that space, you can't employ a new person.
That's right.
You also prevent people from being promoted into that particular space this pensioner is occupying. Then he also gets double salaries for being a pensioner and being a salaried worker on contract. So I think it's high time
I think that,
to look
look,
at these
you raise very
issues.
cogent points, but also then we need to look at how the structure or the system, is properly managed.
To phase
so
them
that,
out.
for example, Senior Bright is here, is an editor and all of that. If they want me to understudy Bright so that I take over from him when he's gone, while he is on the job and I'm still there as a junior officer, we need to have a process where we can have mentoring or a mentor-protege relationship so that I can understudy. We don't get a lot of that in the civil service. So you find that there are people there, even when they go on leave, it is just them. If they are not there, nothing can be done. So they clear payments. If they are not there, nobody can do it. And it cuts across many fields.
Right.
I mean, many fields.
But you realize this is rife more in the public sector.
Right.
So it's just a matter of learning the system. Because the private sector will not allow this to happen.
So then you find, for example, that our current IGP is beyond retirement.
Yeah.
He's gone on retirement.
Right.
Technically, we saw Mr. Portaria Kwe and so many others in so many other places. So then you're asking yourself, are there no other people qualified behind them? But then again, I say it is the system.
It is.
If we do the mentorship, and because look, anybody who's trained in a law firm, a proper law firm, that's why they call them associates. They learn. You have to do actually apprenticeship and learn. We don't encourage that in the private public sector. And people think that, well, when you start understanding someone, then you are coming to take his job from him, so then they block you. I don't know where that mentality came from, but it's a shame. But if you know your worth and somebody is understanding you, you should not be threatened by it.
But have we taken a look at the reason why we'll get these retirees to stay on?
Because I think it's just because we don't prepare people to fill that gap when they leave.
Okay, so when we decide to ignore them, we also lose that experience we're looking for.
Beautiful. Right.
So can we do a balancing act
Certainly.
Because the balancing act is what I'm saying. Like, look, let's do the mentorship.
Right.
Let's have it. So somebody enters the civil service, maybe Ministry of Education. He's working at maybe the enrollment department.
Right.
He enters first year, second year after he gets some experience. Look, Mr. So and so is our expert here. You need to understand him. So go to meetings with him and be with him, because he has 3 years to go on retirement. Then you kickstart it.
Yes,
My father,
exactly.
my mother, they both rejected contracts because when they were called, they told the people that, look, we have trained enough people to be able to do, and they recommended people, and today they are working.
Exactly. That's because you see, for me, if we are suggesting that we should throw away these retirees because it's a drain on national coffers, maybe we should also look at what we get from them. Can we get these retirees on a contract saying that before we're taking you for 1 year or 2 years, train this number of persons for us, okay? Or even before they leave office, for us to take a look at getting them back. They are, is it a condition of service? No.
The KPI.
Yes, includes the fact that you should train this number of people.
Exactly.
Okay, so that even when they leave, we can have some other. So for me, it is happening. The private sector will be glad to do it, because for the private sector, it is the resource they're looking for. I've seen a couple of people in journalism. I mean, if you go to certain places, a lot of our old and gone ones are now back mentoring the young ones. And so perhaps they have a way of doing it. The public sector is where perhaps the Auditor General is warning of the dangers there. But I think that if they can take a look at it and see how it can be done, so that it's a win-win situation. Okay, we get them before they leave to train people, so that at least
and it goes back to feed into the conversation of SNIT and the retirement packages they give these pensioners, because I believe if it was good enough for them to believe they can be sustained on it, most people may not even accept the contracts, because then they understand that we should be able to fill in well. Because outside, many people don't take...
There are also people who deliberately would want to come back, so that they want to etch their names in the annals of history and say that, Johnny, oh, this one, if I can't do it, nobody else can.
But that
won't do that. Because most of the contracts that are given to people are given to them, as Bright said, after they have left the job, and because there's nobody there, so they bring them back specifically to come and fill in the space and train people. And even when they go back, you ask yourself, if the contract is for 2 years, 3 years, which is usually what happens, or 5 years maximum, do they really train people when they go back? They don't.
Did Auditor General also say that they earn 2 salaries?
Yes.
Oh, but they will earn 2 salaries.
They will.
You contract
on contract, yes. You'll be paid, and then you get yours for your pension.
You get your pension.
The one from SNIT, is it really a salary?
It's something.
But it's your contribution.
It's what you were.
It's not something to buy beer and kinky.
Well, that was what you benefit when you, if you didn't have the contracts. That's what you were going to. That's what I'm saying. We should look at that package. If it's attractive enough, no one will want to come back.
Cities, a man from SNIT. Is that a salary?
But Bright, you see, the point is that we and I'll go back to my earlier point.
What kind of salary is that?
SNIT is putting up affordable houses with our contribution. We can't afford the houses.
Yeah. So
what is
you pay the man?
It's Kofi.
The Auditor General says it is salary 500.
So until we bridge all these gaps, it's really going to be.
Can you imagine that we have a new president and then we bring in an old president, say, come and mentor him, come and take the contract and govern the country for 2 years, so that the new president can understand you and know how to run a country.
Did the second deputy speaker of parliament actually say that he wishes that people who are engaged in Galamsey on the rivers are shot dead? Did he really
shot by who?
I mean, they are shot
by guns.
Yes, when they are seen on the river.
I think that's what I also heard.
I was really amazed at that.
I don't think that's right.
I think it's just the frustration.
He said that he wished they are shot because what's really.
Well, we're grateful it's a wish. It's not something that has actually happened.
Because at this point, somebody gave me some reports from the Western region. I think parts of the Eastern region as well, that the rivers are beginning to turn brown again. So then you're asking, so what is the essence of all the ban? Exactly. Because there's a ban on mining, the deadline, reaches its completion date, and then we extend it. This is about the 4th time or so we are extending it. So then you are wondering what's happening. The water is extending. And good morning to you, Mr. John Peter Mewu. Are you still in charge? Are we in control? What is it? Let's know. Galamsey fight, has it ended? Has it stalled? What is happening to it? We want to know, because I am worried eventually the water that we drink, it will trickle down. You may be in Accra and think that you are drinking pure water. Don't kid yourself. Anyway. Don't kid yourself. All the water flows downstream. So don't kid yourself. If you must speak, speak up. Good morning.
Well, the finder also says U.S. deports 86 Ghanaians, more expected in the coming months. Also, cocoa surges to top of U.S. commodity performance in 2018. Then U.S. visa on arrival policy to attract African investors. That's coming from Mahama. Then 2018 Hajj fair would cost 15,000 Ghana cedis. Sheikh Isikwe says.
So more people are back.
Yes,
but if Donald Trump is sacking his appointees, for us, we are joking. We are joking.
Everybody will come back.
He says to make America great again. Yeah. What did you think he wanted to do? To make America great again. So he will do everything to shut out anybody that he thinks will not add on to the thing. And I want people to take their minds off this whole perception that if you cross the borders of Ghana and get into some snow or some other country, European country, you can make it. That's the greener pasture. I know people here who have...
Johnny, but is it not the case?
No, but not... No. See, right, there are people here who have... I knew somebody who had a bakery here. She was making about 1,200 cedis a day. Right. She sold off the bakery, sold off everything. She was providing employment for people who come and, take her pies and then go and retail them. Right. And she just sold everything off, packed her bag and baggage, went to the US. Guess what? In 3 months, somebody was sitting at the bar. She was sitting at a bar, a drinking bar with somebody. Somebody had committed a certain offense. When they came, they logoed the 2 of them, and they brought all of them back. Now she's starting from the scratch.
Okay, so let me also tell you a story.
Scratch.
A shoemaker who has been struggling after university to make ends meet. He had to go into shoemaking, and then he managed to find himself out there. Today, he owns a business back in Ghana.
Well, but the point is that it is not a hard and fast rule.
It is not.
That's when you cross the borders. Look, if you are here, if you are here, Johnny, and you work diligently. I tell people that, look, I bought my first laptop, a Dell laptop, my first laptop, out of savings, coins. So I bought, so every time I come, I put
some small
coins there. And I'm saying that, look, if you live in this country and you are doing your diligent stuff, I don't earn all the money in the world, but I don't go begging people for anything.
Johnny, it is true, but you see,
the discipline must be there.
It is there.
You earn 450 Ghana cedis, and every Friday you make it a point that you go and sit and drink 4 bottles of beer, chew goat or chevin or mutton, eat fufu, and then you go home, your child's school fees is not paid, and you say the country is hard. What are you doing to yourself?
As much as I agree with both of you, there's also the flip side of it.
Entertainment?
Look the outside world has made their systems work. And so it makes it more attractive, Johnny, because if I'm traveling outside, I'm not worried about transportation, I'm not worried about traffic, I'm not even worried about what I'll eat, because I know at the end of the day, even if I get $3, it can afford me some meal, a good meal, probably even a 3-square meal, whereas that same amount cannot translate to giving me a good meal in Ghana. And so as much as I agree that if it also comes with personal decisions,
it is not an automatic thing.
It is not automatic.
I would have said to Shay, we always would be quick to want to compare and say their systems work. We forget that in those countries, and even in Africa, Rwanda, there is leadership, there is vision.
That's the point.
Citizenship.
So we are coming down home.
The many people who evade taxes in this country, if they all pay their taxes, our system will work.
Great.
Now, and that's all coming from a place where a particular system too hasn't worked, because I may decide to pay my taxes, but the bureaucratic steps that are there will prevent me from doing that.
Somebody earns $350 in US a month. Out of that, if you calculate the amount of taxes that like person pays, it can drop to like $130.
Great.
Even that, we still expect them to send us money.
Excellent.
If you round up $130, okay, and convert it into cedis, somebody earning 1,500 or maybe 1,800 earns better than that person, and even ends up evading more taxes than that person.
Okay. Okay.
So it is a discipline.
It
personal
is.
discipline.
It is.
So
But
many
you see,
factors. It's
personal
not only
discipline.
the personal discipline.
Yes.
Because like what Bright said,
You cannot
the
rule
person
that
has
out.
decided to actually try and be a shoemaker. He's not stealing, he's not doing galamsey, he's doing the legal things to try and make ends meet. But the system
The
is just
legal
not
things,
because
the legal
housing
things
is
when
an
you give
issue.
him your
Water
shoe.
is an issue. Electricity
The
is
legal
going
thing when
up.
you give him
Taxes
the
are
legal thing
going
when
up
you give him
every
your
day.
your shoe to fix
But
for
you
you,
see,
then he will tell
Johnny,
you come for it
Johnny,
on Tuesday. You
this-
go on Tuesday, he tells you the shoe is not ready.
Johnny,
Come for it on Thursday.
this conversation on the finder, Johnny,
we know them.
This
What
conversation,
haven't our tailors done to us before?
Johnny, this conversation on the finder, okay, we'll continue to do this conversation if we don't have the real change that we all need.
Right.
Our people will go and they will be deported.
Every
No
day.
matter the situation, the discipline that you have. Now, go and look at the number of our professionals who are out.
Because they are looking for skilled labor.
You cut out those who don't have the skill and want to go. So the argument for me is that let us try and make our system the one that can absorb everybody. In the US, the system will not even drop the most stupid student. Here, even if you are brilliant and you're not careful, you are dropped. You see, in the US, the education system will not drop the most stupid student in class. But here, you can be as brilliant as you can. You cannot pay BEC fee, you will miss out.
Right.
You cannot find money to pay something, you will miss out. Even when you have struggled through BEC, free SS, the university fees are such that if you are not careful, you drop out.
Right.
Okay, so let us make the system good. And then this conversation will tone down. As for discipline, Charlie, we all can
Look,
but Charlie,
I agree
So,
that,
yeah,
we
so
need to fix the
that's
system.
we
but you
need
see,
to.
we must start from somewhere. I keep saying
we must.
cannot be,
And for me,
we cannot
starting-
be a developing country forever. Look at this story Etonamse did this morning. We're here promoting GTP and Wear Ghana and all the nice designs that you can make from GTP fabric. But then on the market, the fabric that will earn more sales, sadly, and which is what we saw in the story, are the inferior portions of the same design.
Right.
Are we
Which
then
are
saying-
allowed in.
Are allowed in. Okay.
Because of a system failure.
Because somebody doesn't have discipline. Somebody
Whose
at
job
the
is-
border, somebody
That's-
who has
so that's where it
paper,
starts.
somebody at the doesn't have the self-discipline and the sense of citizenship to ensure that this is policed. Knowing that, look, if this is properly policed and you go to the market to buy a GTP, GTP will get money to employ more people, pay more taxes.
In our
Whoever,
country.
if I take it to my tailor, it is not about being expensive. See, we must
But
pay.
Johnny,
We must pay
everything
the
you've
actual
spoken
prices.
About, it's not only the discipline, it also
Look.
comes with the system failure. In as much as the discipline
but if
was
you are not
there,
disciplined,
if the
then
government
you are running
was
a system. The system is
so that
failing.
let's say that is there. But if the system was also working, these inferior products will not get in the first place.
Yeah, you
for
have to
someone
stop
to
it.
even be attracted
See,
to it and then start a cycle.
There's a school of thought
And so
that
it's
there's a
back and
school
forth.
of
That's
thought
what I'm saying.
that
there's so many
there's a
factors
school of
that
thought that
feed
the
into
original is expensive. If you go to
but it's durable.
if you go to Tesco in the UK and I said Tesco in the UK and you go and buy you will not find a fake to buy there.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the price, you will not find a fake to buy there.
Yeah.
And if you sell a fake of it, you will be jailed. So this whole argument, if you have citizenship, you will not go to the market to want to go and buy a fake and say because the original is expensive.
Johnny,
Are you
Johnny,
kidding me?
Johnny,
Anyway,
Johnny.
but on that note, our population is increasing, and that will
Yes.
affect the things we're speaking
One of the
about.
people who's
29.6 million.
one of the
Johnny.
people who's increased our population is Richard Kekeli Nutako. He's our online manager here, and it's his birthday today. It's will be a proud one of that. It's his birthday, Richard Kekeli Nutako. He increased the population.
He did. And there's a scare. Right
he
now,
was,
we hit
he was
29.6
dropped to
million.
increase the population.
And the fact that our amenities still stay the same, nothing seems to be changing, doesn't mean we are prepared to take care of the many others who will join us later.
We are
Or we
not.
just have to manage
We are
survival
not.
of the
We are
fittest,
not.
maybe it will
So
be.
people
Let's
continue
see what
to-
you have to say as you run here.
Entertainment.
Ghana's population has increased from 24.5 million, and that was in the 2010 population census, to 29.6 million. And we are told the growth rate is 2.5%, and 40% of the population is a youth. But growth rate is inevitable, so should we really be bothered about the numbers? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
I realize one thing. I think that per statistics, I am able to, from observation, say that to halt population growth or make it stand is impossible. It's practically impossible to achieve. Notwithstanding, we should not be. I don't even think we should even be. What's the rate right now?
29.6.
No, but what's the rate at which is growing? The annual growth rate. 2.5. Charlie, if it's getting down to about 0 point something, it's fine. Yeah, because it's about resources. It's about the fact that the people we currently even have are inadequately resourced. We have a lot of the youth. Okay, we are saying that we are fortunate enough to have about 40% of the youth. Okay, and all that. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? So we keep having the youth increasing, and there are limited jobs for them to do. Okay, or perhaps we even have the jobs, and the jobs are not decently paying. They are not paying well. They are not good jobs. Then what have we done to ourselves? Have we done more harm or good to ourselves?
Yeah. My brother said 2 kids. Me, my family, you can't say 2 kids.
Talking about that, the question is, as a control measure, are you ready to give birth to, let's say, one? Let me just take it straightforward.
When I'll be ready to give birth to one kid? When I am being compensated. And this is the situation, we don't have the funds to manage the people. So you won't have funds to compensate somebody. Okay. So if I'm being compensated, then I am sacrificing that for that.
Okay, as a control measure, are you ready to give it to, let's say, 1 or 2? 1 or 2. Okay. Are you ready?
At least 3.
But one, no.
Actually, my future wife doesn't have a say on the number of kids she should have. Unless perhaps due to medical conditions, she can't go beyond 3.
Okay. I'm asking this question because somewhere last year, the National Population Council proposed to government that we should restrict childbirth to 3. And then the executive director, Letitia Apia, was bashed.
George.
So Ghanaians are not ready to,
George, let me say this.
To buy the control measure.
George, let me say this. See, we are always dreaming of making Africa a beautiful place like Europe is.
And that is a problem.
Like other places.
We want to be them.
You see, the fact that we want to be like them means that we should learn to be like them.
What if we don't want to be like them?
No, if we don't have to be like them,
this is Africa,
then let's
this is Africa. Our predominant career is farming.
You see a poor woman, let's say 10 people, and she can't afford for them.
And that's insane. That's insane.
What is your definition for a poor woman?
That's insane.
What is your definition for a poor woman?
I know someone who's giving birth to 7, and it's like, so I want to give 4 extra for
that woman.
You have nothing to eat.
According to that woman, the definition of being rich is based on the number of children you have.
What is the kind of mentality we should be changing?
No, according to you, that is the definition of poverty. So you see the
this is the kind of mentality, George, I'm talking about. We should be changing. You get it? Because somebody will have just 1 child or 2, and that child will grow up with a very good, the ample resources, the word is underlined, ample, enough resources. The person is able to furnish the child. The child is able to grow, go through the thick and tall.
But it doesn't happen.
Find something good for himself, create job, and employ thousands of people.
Exactly. In all cases, it doesn't happen.
It's not always going to be like that.
People are called Bedu, and
this is what I'm saying. If we have Ghana, we have housing deficit. If with even a population of 25 or so million, as at the time, and now we are saying 29. Obviously beyond that, except that of course for statistics sake we are saying 29, and we are having housing deficits, serious housing deficits in this very country. And we think that we should continue to produce children.
If everyone is being conscientized to maybe give birth to 2 or 3, for which you know that your current resources can take that need away, then we have to conscientize ourselves. Exactly. But because in this modern state, things will go difficult to difficult. Do you understand? So we need to erase that mindset. That mentality.
I should say it's very archaic.
It's very archaic.
Okay.
Because
so
what? We have people who are presidents and
in some Akan traditional settings, they have a title like Owudu, means mother of 10. And when you achieve that figure, the 10th born, they are giving like I think a goat, a sheep or something. They don't take that into consideration whether I can fend for them or not. No, they don't take. All they know is she has that title. she's giving birth to 10
So how many
kids.
kids
That's
do you
all.
intend to, give birth to?
Oh, I'm actually.
He said 7. Initially, he said 7. Oh, you told me 7.
Okay, but just by the way. So as I was saying,
No, you didn't answer.
how many kids? If we are talking about people that
see, he's scared when he says this thing on air. He's going to lose his girlfriend. That is why. He knows. He knows. Say it.
See, interestingly, you guys are talking about accommodation problem. You see, it's in Accra. Majorly in Accra, because Accra, the population density is very high. Everybody is moving in rural urban drifts. You understand? So the population density here is very high, and hence leading to these accommodation problems. Outside Accra, things are not like this. So we can also perceive it from that angle. Interestingly, what if you bring a regulation like even give birth to one and you will be compensated? Currently, our resources can't even cater for the 29 people. We are already 29. If you ask people to give birth to one, it's still increasing. So there's still something we ought to do.
No, we are talking about relative. Like we are doing a relative comparison here.
But if you do that,
and so we are using a percentage.
Provide for the future, it's still going to be a problem.
Exactly.
Because we would increase.
Exactly. And we know, that.
But and then we don't make appropriate.
I think all of you will agree that even though our country is progressing, the progression is quite slow.
Slow, yeah, it is.
You get it?
No, it has
so why don't we? It has always been slow. So why don't we relatively do that in tandem with our childbirth rates too?
Guys, look at this. Guys, look at this. Guys, listen to this one.
Like pen drive, yes, pen drive.
In all your submissions, you guys attested to the fact that population growth is inevitable. So government should go and sleep them because I the only thing you can control it.
No, I'm not saying. Listen,
you can control it.
It is inevitable, and this is what I said. It is practically unachievable. Like practically, it's unachievable for you to say that you are going to halt it. It won't halt.
You can minimize it.
But we can minimize the speed at which it's going. We can minimize it like with reference to proportion, ratio and proportion. We can get minimal stuff like percentages being recorded. Okay. So instead of 2.5 increments per annum, let's get 1.2 or 1. And it's fine. Then we know that we are going in tandem with our growth.
What Jambo is trying to say is
we need to understand the negative effect of population growth. Do you understand? Because if we are giving birth so much, or the growth keeps increasing, and our available resources are not being utilized well to meet the growing demands of population, both economic activities. Do you understand? So realistically, we need to tell people.
The first place.
We need to tell people, or government should take in measures. Religious organizations should also take in measures. We need to advise ourselves that childbirth comes with responsibilities. Do you understand? Therefore, we need to. Do you understand? So that we will put in measures to address it.
Actually, hit around. I stopped long ago, not today, long ago.
I have 2 children. I've taken care of them with the very little resources available. Today, one of them is a police officer, and one of them is a military officer.
Then we have 2 children.
No, I'm just giving a scenario. Now in fact, Sly has 7 children.
3 girls, 4 boys.
4 boys. The 4 boys, all of them are armed robbers. And we have to use just one child of mine to go and chase these 4 armed robbers. You see?
But it makes sense because see where it makes the sense because you are being paid to chase down robbers. You are being paid to chase down robbers. You understand?
You get it? All I'm trying to say is that you see that was just a scenario. I mean, that go far, but the realistic issue is that we should give birth, yes, but we should do it with plan. Everything we are doing like business, it's a life planning cycle. We should just plan everything and be sure that our resources, not just today, but our resources even in the future is good enough to take care of them. We should do projective something. It's not that today you are earning 10,000 cedis, so you think you can take care of the children. What policies have you put in place? How many insurance policies do you have to take care of them in the near future when something goes by?
Okay, let me chip in this. I watched a movie actually. A scientist who planning to produce this virus to wipe out, let's say, half of the entire population. Because the larger the numbers, you have some things going extinct. Game, deforestation.
Was it Thomas Malthus, economics and history? He actually predicted that after a point in time, the resources like food can't meet the people. You know, I think they have predicted it all. But I think every time they were predicting it, they had Africa as a continent in mind. Because outside, like the Western countries, they always have a way to make it wrong. But it works with us.
But do you know, interesting enough, we produce like in this continent, we produce almost every food that you can find almost in every basket.
To feed them.
We feed them.
Yeah, we feed them and we don't feed ourselves.
The population scale, Ghana currently stands at 29.6% with regards to the population. But this is a time where we have limited resources to match up these numbers. And let's know your thoughts on this. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's a News TV3. I want to ask this question. I'm the only one in the African Apple. You don't believe the campaign?
We have beats, we have the Gina ring. We African everywhere.
It's only
we African everywhere.
Yes, I think my boxer is African range.
Exactly. Really? That's dope, man.
And the campaign,
no, I guess it's because of work. But then you still have to get a beat, at least.
Actually, it's because of work. And it was a long week celebration, which we actually celebrated last week.
So here at TV3, the campaign is still on. Wear Ghana, Eat Ghana, Know Ghana, and Watch Ghana. Our hashtag is We Celebrate GH. Thanks for watching. Good morning.
This is what it feels like.
Right. We're back, and Daily Graphic says that exchanges over crude sale burst COPEC trade accusations, and IFS warns of rising debt servicing cost, and Parliament divided over shoot to kill order. That's the Daily Graphic. The Statesman says burst shoots down COPEC claims, defends $2 discount per barrel, and the Daily Guide says NACOP defends tied docks over Ibrahim cars, and it carries the IFS story. The Independent says government assures of equitable distribution of national resources, and Ghana faces economic collapse as debt balloons. That's from IFS. And the Heritage continues that story. IFS engages economic experts to offer strategies to government. The Finder is talking about the US deporting 86 Ghanaians, and the Times talks about a ban contract for retirees. That's the Auditor General suggesting that it's a drain on national coffers. My guest to do the talking this morning is a member of the NPP, a Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, Pius Hajide is here. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
Right, we are managing.
Thanks so much, and I'm sure you are still basking in the glory of the qualifications that Ghana has achieved these last few days, particularly with our teams, our national teams, doing quite well.
No, we have moved on beyond that. We are focused on winning more for Mother Ghana. Just
the good, the Commonwealth Games.
Yes, just a couple of days ago, I saw of the team, the first contingent heading towards Australia for their pre-games. We wish them well, and the athletes will confess that for the longest times
everything has been done for them.
Where we are getting there, but the preparations, the comprehensive preparations that we have done this time for a long time, the athletes and officials are on record publicly to have confessed that they haven't seen that three-phase. First phase, non-residential camping for about a month. Then they went into residential camping also for about a month. Now they are doing pre-games camping in Australia for almost about another month, comprehensively, without break. We believe that with the kind of preparation that
we'll get results.
We definitely should get some results.
All right, so we're going to Gold Coast to bring gold.
It's back actually from Gold Coast to Gold Coast for gold.
For gold, okay, all right. Deputy Youth and Sports Minister. My other guest, Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, is a member of the NDC, a former Deputy Trade Minister, former MP for Nanto. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You're a sports lover?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you do a lot of sports.
It's an
Arsenal fan. Oh, okay.
Is it a crime to be an Arsenal fan?
Oh, no.
I love sports.
No.
I have done sports before. I did long jump. I played basketball. I played a bit of football too. But to a very large extent, it was basketball and then long jump.
Great.
I was engaging in school. Yeah.
All right. Let's start our conversation this morning with the Daily Graphic. This story also carried by the Heritage, and page 23 talks about the IFS warning of some sort to Ghana. The Institute of Fiscal Studies has raised concerns over the rising debt servicing cost in the country. It warned of dire consequences on the economy if something is not done to halt the policy. Think tank believes the sharp increase in the country's public debt over the last decade has had serious implications for economic growth. Key among them being the high debt servicing cost, which exposes the economy to external shocks. That's the story. Now, Professor Newman Kusi, who made the presentation, made some suggestions on how to deal with this. He said, for instance, that the interest costs are now higher than domestic financed capital expenditure and threatening to equal or even overtake wages and salaries if public borrowing is not slowed down. And that's one of the key things he suggested there. Again, he pointed out that interest payment on public debt accounted for 8.5% of total government expenditure in 2008, rising to 11.8 in 2012 and to 21 in 2016. He said in 2017, interest payment accounted for 25.8. So from 8.5 in 2008, we are 25.8 in 2017. He's a bit worried about that and suggested that interest payment should be probably financed through additions to public debt or at the expense of other key government expenditures. So a lot of recommendations were raised. Quickly, let me touch on some of them. Professor Kusi called on the government to adopt a comprehensive debt management strategy that puts caps on the levels of gross concessional and non-concessional borrowing. He also said that limits should also be placed on contracting or guaranteeing non-concessional loans that could become liabilities to the government. Again, he says to effectively monitor the public debt stance, strict measures and quantitative targets would have to be set to guide the efficient delivery of cash and debt management. And that's some of the suggestions that he made. There were other contributors, a lot of them. Former Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Second Deputy Dr. John Esiama was there, Professor Kwesi Prempeh was there, and Dr. Kwabena Dufo was also there. That's the story. Government getting some warning there. Comrade, let me start with you.
I thought you would have started.
No, I want to start with you.
Because he's in government.
No,
he should be telling us.
No,
he should be telling us.
I want to start with you.
I don't have any problem with starting, but I'm just saying
Professor Kusi has made, there's a story I wish I could get that one. I think Professor Kusi said somewhere at the lecture that he thinks that Ghana's debt should be a national issue and not a political one. I wish I could just pick that from I saw it in one of the newspapers. I'll pick it before we wrap up the conversation. But so let me start with you. He's making some recommendations to deal with this. And I'm sure you have read portions of his lecture, or perhaps all. The recommendations that he's making, are they what we need to deal with our borrowing?
Well, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, and of course yourself. And my kid brother here is now looking bigger than me, and that is understandable. You see, right, it's always good to be sincere as a government. Issues of debt cannot be hidden. It can never be hidden. You remember when the president had the State of the Nation's address in 2018, we did indicate that he was not being truthful to the people of this country by telling the people of this country the actual borrowings that his government has actually incurred. You remember, he talked about borrowing up to September. October was not mentioned, November was not mentioned, December was not mentioned, against 2017. And in fact, when the minister presented the 2018 budget, he also stopped at September. When we do know that a lot of borrowing by this government was done in October, November, December, and which was in billions of cedis. Now the question then is, why did the minister stop short mentioning that? The irony at that time was also that they used the statistics that were available in 2016. That is the debt stock of 2016 up to December. Now they compared the debt stock of 2016 from January to December against the debt stock of 2017 from January to September. He did say in 2008 when he met the media. And when he met the media once again, he stopped short at September. As we see today, the Bank of Ghana publishes our debt stock without telling us how much we have incurred in the form of debt as a state in October, November, December. This is not a figure that is presented by Bank of Ghana. But the point is that all those figures could easily be calculated because a lot of those debts were debts that government went into that had parliamentary approval. So people could tell that this is how much we have borrowed in October. This is how much we have borrowed in November. This is how much we have borrowed in December. The question then is, why was government not prepared to tell the people of this country the true state of the borrowing that they incurred in? And I can tell you, the level at which this government borrowed in terms of month per month is unprecedented. 2.2%. Now, if you multiply the 2.2% by 12, that one should give you within the ranges of over 16%. Isn't it? Multiply that by a month. That is a month. A month will give you about 16%. Multiply that by 12. That will give you a ranges of about 104%. Now, if you look at the State of the Nation's address delivered by the President and the budget that was presented by the Minister of Finance, remember, the Minister of Finance presents budget for and on behalf of His Excellency the President. The Minister of Finance figures as to how much the NDC borrowed. Juxtapose that with what they have borrowed is just unprecedented. But let me make this point. You have a government that in opposition repeatedly deceived and peddled falsehood to the people of this country. The debt to GDP was 9.3. And you can find it in the series of the needless press conferences and fora that Dr. Bawumia indeed addressed. Now, this was a figure that they repeatedly stated. You come into office, the State of the Nation's address, the President reiterated the same point, 9.3%. Only for the Minister of Finance to go to present his 2017 budget. Page 160 of 2017 budget, and indicated that debt to GDP was 8.7. That is a vast difference. Now you remember, the reason why the Minister of Finance could not peddle the falsehood as peddled by both Dr. Bawumia and His Excellency the President is that he was presenting that under oath. And therefore, whatever figure he presents there, if he deceives people, he can be prosecuted for that. Now, the Minister of Finance made that presentation and indicated that it was 9.3. Now, after that, 2018, meet the press. The President went back again to the 9.3. 2018 budget, the minister stated again the 8. So who is it? This again, let me make this point. Now, the same government told us that areas that they have inherited, because we are discussing that the areas they inherited, if you look at the statement presented by the President in the media encounter 2017 and that of 2018. 2017, he said it was 7 billion. 2018, when he met you people at the Flagstaff House, he said it was 8 billion. And that we have paid 7 billion and it's left with 5 billion. Wait a minute. If it is 8 billion, you have paid 5 billion. It won't be left with it. You have paid 7 billion. It won't be left with 5 billion. The same minister presented the 2017 budget, 2018 budget, and stated 5 billion. So who is telling us the truth? So if you do politics with borrowing, and the NDC in Parliament informed you that these are figures you can't hide, that at the end of the year, the right and appropriate figures will be presented. At the end of the year, they failed to do that. 2018 budget presented by the minister failed to tell us the true state of the debt to GDP in this country and the borrowing. Now, the Bank of Ghana should do the needful. The Bank of Ghana should have the courage and stop engaging in this petty political realm. They should have the courage to publish to the people of this country as a respected state institution. This is how much we have borrowed.
This is the death stock. As we see today, they have still not done that. Why is it that the statistical service is also not giving us the information? Now, it has to take this to tell us this is the true state. Over 150 billion. I believe the MPP will shut up now, because the noises they made as to the borrowing, this is unprecedented. Calculate,
were they not simply warning about perhaps what we use the money for, but not?
By the way, Dr. Baumia has just. By the way, Dr. Baumia yesterday commissioned one of the Photoshop projects. You remember when we said that we have borrowed and we can trace every single borrowing to projects that were executed. Dr. Baumia had an encounter. In fact, specifically, some of this he did it at Central University for whatever reason, only they know, and said that they were Photoshop, that they cannot find them. When we published the Green Book, indicating to them pictorially the pictures and the project that we executed, they came back and said, oh, the figures were inflated. The extent to which His Excellency the President himself talked about the inflation of the figures of the circle interchange and the Kaswa interchange, only for his MP to come out and tell him that he was not being truthful. So I'm saying that we have had those projects. The MPP should tell us, this government should tell us, the borrowing that they have indeed gone into. Tell us one single gutter that they have executed. So if you tell me, they said that they could not trace it. Dr. Baumia yesterday, interestingly, commissioned one of the projects. He said that they were Photoshop. Now, if something was Photoshop, how do we then commission?
I'm grateful.
You can't hide this.
I'm grateful. Let me go to
when
class.
you do that, you'll be exposed as they're exposed today.
Let me go to, even though you failed to answer my question as to the recommendations that the experts are asking government to engage in.
If you
but I'll come back
but
to
don't
you.
say I failed to answer that
Or
question.
you refuse to
those recommendations, those recommendations are recommendations that have been professed by many people.
Okay, so they are not new.
Yes, you see,
like increasing revenue mobilization.
No, revenue mobilization has been the concern of every government, including this government. Okay. That in as much as you borrow, as a developing nation, you certainly would have to borrow. More so a country that is hugely dependent on other countries in terms of our basic needs. What we need to do, if you ask me, besides those recommendations made, is for us to begin taking serious the need for us to be patronizing the goods that we produce in this country. If you spend huge percentage of your money in importing goods that you have the capacity and the capability to produce, you're going to have some of these challenges. And that is why I think that we need to do that. Made in Ghana is something that this government continues, and for me it's commendable. Right. Having worked at the Ministry of Trade, I do know the amount of money we spend in things that we can do. The president is now seen wearing made in Ghana boots. I mean, and for me, it's commendable. You remember when His Excellency President Mahama said he was wearing made in Ghana shoes? They mocked at it. Thank God that they are now coming to reality. I'm grateful. The only way we can develop this nation is to focus on consuming the things that we produce in this country.
Right. Comrade Ibrahim Murtala is a member of the NDC. Pius, let me come to you. I think the general agreement at this conference was that, right, we need to borrow, but we need to have value for it. And so our debt is rising in 10 years. The worry is that we need to have value for it and perhaps take a look at strengthening our revenue mobilization methods to rake in more so that we don't need to borrow. Is government committed to this?
Well, thank you very much, Martin. Good morning to you, my colleague, and our cherished viewers. And I'm going to resist the temptation to respond to my brother because even you have noticed that deliberately he moves away from the very critical matter under consideration and want to just do partisan politics and gets into distortions that I am unable to verify. Neither are you. He goes to 2017 State of the Nation, then he goes to meet the press here, and he's creating things that he knows too well that you and I cannot be able to verify here. And it's a simple strategy in Machiavellian communication that when you refer to things in the past, knowing too well that at that moment people cannot verify, churn out numbers, say things, mention figures. In 2017, the finance minister said this. In 2016, the president said this, and thinking that some of the people would believe that you actually what you are saying is actually true. None of the things he has said, has he given us the sources, has he given us, and I cannot verify, neither can you. So I would not want to, and I believe that discerning viewers would discern that this is a critical matter that we should discuss without any of these political machinations. So I would resist any attempt to even want to respond to my brother. Just that I want to agree. First of all, commend the conference. It's important, especially for we, the government, that we can get together with the government to share ideas about such important matters of national development. Every Ghanaian has been worried about the albatross that hangs around our necks, debt. It is not for nothing that His Excellency the President is envisioning a Ghana beyond aid. And for some of us, a Ghana beyond aid is a Ghana that is moving away from debt. But for our purposes this time, we all agree that we can't borrow. In fact, big economies such as the United States of America do borrow.
Right.
But it is how you spend the money borrowed, the value for money that you are that you are able to assure the people of. For me, that is what is critical. Another critical issue is sustainability. Because when you borrow money, you pay your commitments, you pay interest, you also pay back the principal. We were getting to a situation where even the interest that we were debt servicing alone under the NDC, if you put together the budgets of critical ministries such as health, education, agriculture, and so on, yearly, the amounts of monies we use to service debts, you may find that they may even be larger than the budgets of those ministries put together. And definitely those were going to be causes of worry. So the NPP in opposition was worried, not necessarily because we were borrowing, because we know that every country will borrow. But what were we using the monies for? Because at the end of the day, we will pay commitments on those loans. We will pay the interests. And if we are getting to situations where budgetary allocations for key ministries were less than the amounts that were budgeted to pay interest on loans, then at that point, you ought to tell yourself, hold on a minute, let me check what is happening here. And so I think that government must be commended, this current government must be commended for reducing the debt to GDP ratio from as high as 74% in 2016. Today we are reporting some 68% debt to GDP ratio. And so there is some decrease in that, which tells you, and I told you about sustainability. As for the debt stock, you can mention the debt stock, but it is a question of ratio. You can borrow X amount. If you had Y amount capacity to repay, it can be, but somebody can borrow the same X amount. But if the person lacks the capacity to repay and service the loan, that person will be in trouble. And so I believe that all of these have even led to, you check our latest credit ratings, and the debt sustainability argument is critical in credit ratings, because nobody wants to continue to give money to somebody who is wallowing in debt and who has shown incapacity to repay debt. So credit ratings, one of the critical areas of consideration is your sustainability argument. But you check our S&P credit ratings, you check Moody, you check Fitch, all of these credit rating agencies are rating Ghana quite better than the past. Check the latest credit ratings.
We have
check the latest credit ratings. I'm saying the immediate past. You don't go into medieval history.
No, yes, and
I'm talking about the immediate past, what we inherited. And I'm saying that those credit ratings are good. It's a reflection of the sustainability ratio the sustainability argument.
Right.
The deficit is down. From 2016, deficit was 10% of GDP. We brought it down to 6%. We are even thinking of bringing it down to 4.5 this year. You understand? And so I believe that government is on the right track.
So your argument is that we're borrowing, but there's a value for them, and that is why these indicators are going down. Is that the argument?
Well, we are actually also closing the gap. Yes, we are doing some borrowing. Some of the so-called borrowing that our people speak about are better arranged deals to pay for the commitments of earlier loans.
They are for project that can pay for itself.
Some of them were actually to even pay for earlier loans. Because if you borrowed and you're paying a certain interest at a certain interest, and that is choking you, and you go and renegotiate, or what you call reprofile those debts, it expands. At the end of the day, when they are doing the calculation and the 150 billion that is talked about, all of that is calculated. You actually even go and borrow new money, you raise new bonds, so that you can clear some of those debts that interest on them were actually choking you. It gives you some respite. Again, there are a lot of debts. There was a lot of debt in the system, and I'm talking about debt. Okay, I mean, people had done a lot of borrowing. They had started projects that, even though they had borrowed, they claimed that they had borrowed for those projects. We had to go back and find the money to pay for those projects. So you still need to borrow. And my brother spoke about a project that the vice president commissioned yesterday, and said that somebody said that the vice president never said that project was a Photoshop.
But who said it?
The vice president never said that, and nobody said that project was a Photoshop.
So you guys didn't say that they were Photoshop when we presented
but you spoke specifically about one particular project.
That project.
Okay,
right.
There are several projects in that your green book.
Yeah.
That up to now I haven't found.
Example.
So don't let's shift the argument. So let's stay on point. At another time, I can bring you the examples.
We really want to.
I will give you the examples. So that is not correct. And please, when we are doing these things, let's move away from the personalities of the vice president and the president and this fixation that the NDC appears to have on these individuals. They never seem to forgive His Excellency the President and the Vice President for winning the elections. And everything that we discuss, and for instance, we talk about the budget, and my brother goes and says that, oh, the budget is presented for and on behalf of His Excellency the President. But what to make that point? To make what point? Okay,
is it a fact?
It is a fact. Everybody knows that. Okay. Even the finance minister says it on the floor of the house that I'm presenting this for on behalf of the president. Okay, but it is just because our people continue to be angry and bitter at His Excellency the President and the Vice President for winning the election.
Wrap up.
Anytime they talk, they have to bring some.
Perhaps there were some recommendations, one of which is a debt conference. Is government ready to put up this?
A debt conference.
That's one of the recommendations made by
like a gathering of people to discuss the debt. Exactly. I mean, like I said to you before, we are a government that doesn't shy away from engaging with the people. Okay, we have moved away from the past where we were told that the more you say, "Who can the more," you know, that kind of thing.
Who said that?
Your Excellency, former President.
So are you fixated about President Mahama? The extent to which he's not even in office, we're still talking about
No, I'm just
logic this morning.
I'm not. So we are interested. We don't shy away from those things, and I am sure that if it is put together, why not? We could attend. We should attend, because you see, knowledge is not in the domain of one individual. The finance minister is performing creditably well, but that is not to suggest that he has monopoly of all knowledge in the world, irrespective of the caliber of people we have on the economic management team, led by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. We cannot assume that they are in possession of all the knowledge and wisdom in the world, and they could use experiences and ideas from other places. So yes, we take on board any such useful and constructive suggestion of getting together. But these distractions and this politicization, look, the people of Ghana were not fooled. And let not anybody suggest that it was the NPP that led the people to believe something. The people of Ghana are not...
Don't you think that the people would ask questions if they were told prior to the elections that the money is in Ghana and yet the government comes in and is borrowing? Don't you think that people will be disappointed?
No, there is no doubt that we are a rich country. We are a seriously endowed country. It's about leadership. It's about management. And if you have had, for the longest time, the past 8 years, the NDC come in, for instance,
so
to destroy the solid foundations that were laid by the then NPP administration, you have to rebuild. And rebuilding takes time. Okay. If we had been on the proper trajectory, the trajectory that was set some 16 years back, if we had maintained course, I can assure you that our story would have been different. But I'm telling you, for instance, we are talking about a comprehensive aluminium bauxite chain, because bauxite is useless if it is still under the ground. You understand? And if we are able to do this in the holistic manner that this government envisages that we want to do it, that is when and how the resources of the country will come up. And I do agree with him, at least on the point that we need to begin to patronize made in Ghana. And for the first time in a long time,
you are not a made in
but neither are you. But for the first time in a long time,
all right.
For the first time in a long time, my brother has said something on national TV that I believe is in national interest.
Oh, I see. I agree.
Right.
Okay.
First and foremost,
just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we'll move
see,
on.
I haven't said anything here without providing evidence. I talked about the minister presenting budget in Parliament for and on behalf of the president, and why I think it is not only necessary but it's essential in this discussion is that you have a president who presents figures that contradict the very figures presented by his Minister of Finance. Hold on, please.
Okay,
It's not concoction.
That is a concoction.
I have said. Listen.
The figures that.
It is a concoction. It's not true.
Listen.
It is not true.
Page. I have made references to specific pages. I said page 160 of the 2017 budget.
No.
Go and check. Hold on. Page 100. And again,
this is an old trick.
The Stambik, let me tell you, the breakfast organized by Stambik Bank. You have the Minister of Finance stating 8.6, whereas in the budget he stated 8.7. Minister stating 8.7 in the budget.
This is an old trick.
The breakfast with Stambik Bank stated 8.7, 8.6.
Right.
You have a president who stated 9.3. But let me make this point. You see, Bright, when you are making the points, when you are making the points, and the points are hitting them so hard, that's what they do. Your TV participated in that shambolic meet the press at the Flagstaff House.
Is that how you want to
absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Because the president used the opportunity to peddle falsehood. Let your TV shame him whilst we are on this program. What was the figure presented by the president as debt to GDP? What was the figure presented by the president in the areas they inherited? They can easily check it within 5 minutes. They should juxtapose that with the budget that the Minister of Finance presented. Let your TV shame him. I am stating facts. When the facts are so difficult and hot to handle, that is what they do. Again, he's talking about the debt, which he said the debt to GDP areas of 74, 73. The same minister says 73. The president comes and says 70, 74. Is it not a fact? Is it not a fact? Hold on. Can I make this point? Is it not a fact? Is it not the fact? Is it not the fact? And I want you to deny it. That the MPP said, Dr. Baumia said at Central University, that we have borrowed, but they can't see what we have borrowed the money to you for.
But if you
hold on. Yes, I can.
Those projects are easy. I mean, if you can't see, I will remind you.
Yes, yes.
When you live here, just drive towards Ridge, you see the Ridge Hospital. When you live here, drive towards Legon, you see the Legon Hospital. When you leave, hold on, go to Cantonment and you see the roads. Not anywhere. Just come and take this road here. Take the road there. The roads were upgraded. The monies we have borrowed.
You said
go and check the e-blocks. One of the blocks that Ajua Safa claimed that she even negotiated and did. We borrowed those monies to execute those projects. Tell us the monies that you have borrowed.
Okay, you don't have to shout.
All right. Oh, please. You are not shouting.
I gave you 2 minutes.
I said,
I gave you 2 minutes. So
they should tell us the money they have borrowed a gutter.
Right.
Okay.
But you see, is it not a fact that in presenting...
I'm coming to you just
is it not a fact that in presenting...
Wrap up for me.
Is it not a fact that in presenting the 2017 budget, 2018 budget, the minister fell short of mentioning to the people of this country the borrowings that were done in October, November, December? Let your station shame you or shame him. Is it not a fact that the president... Listen, let me make this last point. We were told in this country that the president said in the State of the Nation's address that 90,000 more students have gained access into secondary schools because of the free SHS. The president stated that. Now, he went to an education conference in Dakar and stated over 100,000. Ghana Education Service, just check in their website, Google it. They came out with a figure 61,000. No, please. With a 61,000.
Okay, so this is a concoction.
Right.
Why do you allow this man to do this?
I am grateful. We'll verify that.
Why do you allow this man to charge your TV station?
We'll verify that.
I am wanting to tell the shop bar from which the president is cooking those figures.
We will verify that. But let me get to
Paz. Where these figures are cooked.
Comrade, I am grateful. We'll verify these figures. Paz, please come in.
Look, let's elevate the discussion beyond concoctions, okay? I mean, and let's not concoct stories here and throw them around. Yes, you point to the camera and say that road there. What do you mean by there?
Yes, outside here.
Please. What do you mean by?
Come
Please. What do you mean? That road had been there long before the NDC took over. That road had been there long before, and a lot of the E-block schools that we spoke about.
Yes.
What was it? How much did you borrow from them? From where? What was the arrangement for those? There
were two.
So why do you box all of them together?
Hold on.
Why do you no? I just want you to expose yourself. But so let's go on. Don't worry.
So we're wrapping up this.
For the 86.
Comment, please allow.
For the 86 billion that was borrowed by the NDC, we are told that one road there and one road here are the reason why Ghana, please. But that's what you are saying. That's what you said. You said one road there, one road here, and the E-blocks. And when I asked you about the E-blocks, now you're saying that there were two sources of funding.
I haven't even mentioned sources. Have I mentioned sources? Have I mentioned sources?
So please let me finish.
I haven't mentioned sources.
And I'm saying to you that this is an old trick, and Ghanaians are not. They rejected it long ago, and they are not going to fall for it. You see, he has just done it again. He says, "Oh, the president mentions one figure here, and the president mentions another figure here," knowing too well that we cannot verify it. It's just but that's what he will say. That's what I'm saying to you. Don't even waste your time.
Why?
Just discredit this claim. What I'm saying that you on sets right now, even before TV3 does any fact checking, you have exposed yourself. You have exposed yourself already. Here talking about the E-blocks, but I'm saying to you that this is an old trick. We shouldn't even give it any credibility. I mean, these are people, and I'm saying that the good people of Ghana rejected this. Look, I monitored. For instance, the president, when he went to Senegal on the...
I have the video.
Yes, so you play that video and you hear 90,000, not 100,000. Please. And please stop telling lies. And please stop telling lies.
Comment. Since we don't have the video immediately.
Not on this topic.
Yes, since we don't have the video immediately.
I want you to do your listening public.
We'll just hold on.
We'll
do the verification of all the figures.
Let's proceed. Don't comment, please. We are proceeding.
I'm not going to talk on it. I want you to
No, we are not going to determine. You are not going to
this program.
You are not going to determine what happens
tomorrow morning.
You are not going
to viewing public.
You are not going to determine what happens here.
We will proceed. I am grateful.
This is a strategy.
Let's move on. We're still staying with the Daily Graphic this morning.
I will show him.
Parliament is divided over shoot to kill order. The story says that Parliament yesterday was divided over whether or not the military could shoot and kill people whose illegal mining activities polluted water bodies and caused massive destruction to the environment. While the First Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Osewusu, and the Majority Leader, Mr. Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, felt that the shooting would deter the continued pollution of water bodies. The Second Deputy Speaker, Mr. Aban Bagbin, and the Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu, argued that the method of shooting to kill was unconstitutional. But the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Okoye, concluded by cautioning criminals that the security agencies had the right to use force to prevent crime. He said the use of force, which was allowed in the 92 Constitution, might result in the death of criminals. This comes from a statement made by the MP for Kumbungu, Mr. Ras Mubarak, on the military operation in his constituency to prevent people from polluting a river, the source of water supply to the Tamale metropolis and its environs. So that's the story. Parliament divided over some wishes that were made by the Second Deputy Speaker. Pius, let me come to you to start this with. Shooting to kill people engaged in illegal mining, illegal sand winning and stuff like that. Is it the way to deal with this problem? Parliament is divided over it.
Well, I do not know if I want to put together people involved in illegal mining, illegal
sand winning and all that.
To box them together with people involved in armed robbery, in open armed confrontation with the police, firing on the police, and so on and so forth. I think that this shoot to kill idea originated in response to people who opened fire onto the police in the police performance of lawful duty of protecting life and property. And let's be minded that the police also are human beings who have families, and if you killed one policeman who has a wife, you render that woman a widow, and you render that police officer's children orphans. Some of these police people are breadwinners of both their immediate and extended families, and so even beyond the psychological implications, the economic ramifications for the cruel murder of a policeman on duty are enormous and are grievous. And so I have been worried about steps to take to ensure the security of the securer. Because even if the man who is supposed to ensure our security himself even feels insecure, then we have a problem. And I think that may have forced the comment to have been made. But I still think that we should look at rather equipping the police to be able to withstand some of these shocks. There are challenges and risks to their job. And there are some practical steps beyond shoot to kill that we can take to protect the lives of the policeman if we are worried about them. We can give them bulletproof gear, for instance. Even we can give them helmets to wear at some vantage areas and at some vantage times of the day when we know that they are more exposed to these things. But as for the illegal mining and the illegal sand winning, I am not too sure that the shoot to kill is applicable, even in my wildest of considerations, unless the evidence is that even when the Vanguard, Operation Vanguard goes out there, they are being ambushed and they are being shot at, then that one will become worrisome. and fundamentally, even criminals have rights, and they ought to be given a hearing, and they ought to be presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction. So I believe that the confusion and division in Parliament is a reflection of the difficulty to put these two scenarios together. Criminal minds who are armed robbers, who are open fire, who are bravely and opening fire on police people and killing them, and so on, and the police will have to respond in a certain manner, as against illegal sand winning and galamsey people that maybe are engaging in what they are doing out of ignorance. We need to educate them. A lot of our people don't even know the kind of damage that their galamsey activities and their illegal sand winning is causing to our environment and to their own safeties. And so I think that it may not be acceptable with that, in that respect. That I believe. So whoever made the comment, if the person can come back and clarify the position as to what it is. But at the end of the day, for me, the police, the military, they do not take orders from members of Parliament.
Okay. It was only a whisper by
if a member of Parliament said that shoot to kill, that is not an order. The police know exactly. The deputy speaker. That definitely is not an order, and the police know this. The military know this. They don't take orders from my good brother here when he was a member of Parliament in Nanton. If he had told the police to shoot to kill, the police were not going to do that. So, and again, let us also not impose authority on ourselves that we do not have and create problems. Okay. If you are not the one who should give the police orders to shoot to kill, please don't even attempt to.
Okay, I am grateful. Before I come to comment, let me go to Johnny quickly for some comment. Then good morning once again.
Good morning, Senior Bright. My economic news starts us off in the UK and says, from the UK says, it's very irresponsible and unfortunate for COPEC to make such unfounded financial malpractices against BOST without any concrete and convincing evidence. It's welcoming news that Duncan Amor has been sued for damaging someone's character in such a manner, and is such a person who considers himself to know everything pertaining in the petroleum sector. But when giving such a person to manage BOST or TOR for just some few months, he'll perform woefully. How do you know that, Mike? But as for the minority, the least we talk about them, the better, because they don't have an iota in financial accountability and transparency. Walanyo Enakwitia says, what Duncan Amor should understand is that a blade may be sharper than an axe, but it can never cut wood. Ghanaians are becoming too much tired of allegations being absolutely politically concocted, exaggerated, calculated propaganda, and purely malicious stories against some government appointees, but even the minority in Parliament, which turns out to be falsehood along the way. Why are we heading towards? As a nation? It's time for some of us in Ghana to broaden our horizon, not to degrade someone's reputation. Good morning, Johnny and TV3. One of the programs I personally like is Daily Rant, but it's only centered in Accra. Can it be extended to other regions? Bakayoko Yendi, Bakayoko. We have done other regions, but we'll consider this new appeal. TV3, good morning. We now know that Nonado and Baumia government are the actual incompetent mismanagement and King promise and failed government. What they know best is to continue their promise and fail to enable them. This is a bad taste. That's Marburg song from Mystic inside the Swamp at Jerry. Greetings to you and your crew. President Kufuor promised he would do his things differently, but look at how Honorable Dominic Nitiwo displayed arrogance on his truck banning issue, defending the indefensible. Anyway, arrogance and hypocrisy is the hallmark of MPP. This impunity must stop, and should know that they will not remain in power forever. If NDC did yesterday and it was wrong, would it be right today? They should. They said they believe in rule of law. Rule of law indeed. Nobody is above the laws of Ghana. God save Ghana. Wicked leaders. Good morning, TV3. There is no smoke without fire. There are more fishy issues that have occurred in BOST, which the public is not aware of. But I can tell you on authority that the allegations leveled against BOST CEO by COPEC are issues that should be given the necessary attention and examined thoroughly. What saddens me is the reluctant attitude of this substandard Nanado government to investigate and take actions against their own good. Only God only good in talking but less in action. Boss should stop threatening legal action and do what is right. Best regard, Daniel Ali to attain President Chirapa NTC. Please, is Dr. Baumia still in this country? How can our debt rise? I can't think far. Alasan and Ashaman wants to know. Yakubu Wale, good morning, Bright, Amfo, and Honorable Mutala Mohammed. I don't even know the type of country we're in now under President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Baumia's government. Lies here, lies there, lies everywhere. Insecurity here, insecurity there, insecurity everywhere. Gargantuan Wahala pouring out there on Ghanaian faces. Unpaid teachers' salaries, arrears in still pending, and Nonado and Baumia government should wake up. Cost of living in Ghana is heading hard on the Ghanaian faces. Thomas Akugre in Zebula says, good morning, Bright, and your panelists. The MPP, Dr. Baumia, said in opposition that this country can be developed without borrowing and that the managers of the economy then were incompetent. In terms of borrowing, the MPP is worse. Good morning. What is the NDC man saying to Ghanaians? Former President John Mahama borrowed unnecessary money from for his cabinet ministers to spend. God bless Nanado and the MPP party. Still Nana for 2020. George Ansa, a.k.a. Kpanya in Medina. Mokala Jonas Dia from Medina says, Bra Duncan Amwa, you are becoming a thorn in the flesh of Mr. Alfred Obeng. Why? Do you know how governance is executed? Why do you run from radio to radio, spewing unsubstantiated allegations and lies? Boss released a statement debunking your claims, yet you are not convinced, so you are on the wherewith speaking as if there is some kind of rot at Boss. Please leave Alfred Obeng and his boss alone to deliver their mandate. Free SHS, 1D1F, electricity tariff cut are all in place, but you have made your frivolous claim, taking the whole media today. Good morning, Senior Bright and your panelists. This IMF is going to cripple Ghana and the people of Ghana till we do away with IMF. In fact, let's say Ghana can develop itself because we have a lot of resources in Ghana coming from Idrisu in Kumbungu. A.U. Farouk in Tamale finally says, good morning. In fact, the criminalities at the Boss must stop. The loot and share at Boss is becoming worrisome and mind-boggling. Ghana is not a banana state where appointees of this incompetent government are looting state property like no one's business. Julius Agahoa and Tahiru Asawasi, MPP colludes with international companies on some repute to dupe Ghana. Franklin Templeton for bond scandal and BB Energy for latest Boss scandal. Boss MD is a disgrace to Mother Ghana. Are you sure? Okay, let me leave it here before we get in trouble. Thank you very much. Right, grateful.
Okay, Johnny, thankful. We'll read the rest of the comments later on. But Cromit, please come in. The issue of shooting to kill.
From Wale Wale.
That's his constituency?
Yeah. No,
oh, okay.
He just sent it from his phone.
Right. No. Okay.
Right, you see,
okay, quickly.
Come in. Those allegations that he's making. Right, you see, I was just showing a video where the president said,
it's not true.
I will show you.
You're not going by having.
Right. You see, I can understand the challenge my brother had in commenting on this issue. There is no doubt.
The shoot to kill.
Yeah, the shoot to kill. There is no doubt he's an outstanding communicator. Interestingly, he was fumbling and struggling for words because he didn't want to go at the first deputy speaker. He made an absolute reckless and irresponsible statement on the floor.
It was a wish.
No, please. He said if he had the power, he would pass the necessary laws.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
And the shocker about it is that he's a lawyer of standing. A lawyer of standing, and I respect his intellectual and legal prowess, but I'm saying that for him to even think and imagine and suggest that there is the need that if he had the power, he will do that, I ask myself, where lies that arbiter of everybody is innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction, a lawyer of over a decade of practice? To make such a statement, you can't have an excuse than to describe this as very reckless and irresponsible. In any case, we are talking about specific issue here. He was commenting on a statement that was made by Honorable Ras Mubarak to a specific issue. And when you rise on the floor per the standing orders to comment on an issue, you don't raise an issue that would ignite debate. You are commenting. And that is why sometimes, even when you have wishes and feelings, you suppress them because you are commenting on a statement made. To this specific issue, the Sun winners were never engaged in any illegality. Now, there was an arrangement that the people should not. There has been complaints that where they were winning the Sun, it was affecting and polluting the water body. Now, they had an arrangement from Dalong. The people were asked to move to Afayile. They moved to Afayile, far from, and this was an arrangement, a place agreed upon by Ghana Water Company, the regional minister, and all the agencies involved. Go and find out where the tracks were bent. The tracks were not bent at Dalong, they were bent at Afayele. I listened to Honorable Nituwul and I was flabbergasted that he could make.
But the soldiers claim that they have been there several times to stop them.
That is not the place. And in any case, if you check the Mineral Act, when you have that, confiscate the items, let the proper investigation done. If it is proven that the people were engaged in an illegality, the act is palpable. You give those equipments to an appropriate state agency. On what basis did you come to the conclusion that they were engaged in an illegality? I listened to the Minister for Defense. I was shocked that the insensitive nature with which he responded. He said that yes, the decision was taken after cabinet meeting, and that they asked the people to go there, and that when the military engage inside, you don't condemn them. The military is not above the laws of this country. The military, in fact, the most disciplined institution that if you ask me in this country, I'll tell you the security services, the military, the police. Bright to the extent that when we have a military officer in an office and the general rank is passing by the office, he salutes. It tells you how disciplined. Now he created the impression that the military is a bunch of reckless and unguided people. That was the impression he created. He said that when they go and engage in such things, you don't. The military does things based in please. The military engages in things in accordance with law. Let someone come out and tell us, even Honorable Nituwul, that the tracks were bent at Dalong, and they should deny the fact that the place at which the people were winning the sun was not a place that was recommended and agreed upon. Now I ask Honorable Nituwul that if they bend his track that way, would he make the kind of comments he made? So Osawusu is saying that shoot and kill, and I think that is where I have a problem. Look, if you tell me even armed robbers by law in this country, you can't say shoot and kill, because someone may be suspected to be engaged in a crime. Until proper investigations are done, you can't conclude. Randy, sorry, I see that. Bright, I remember when we were kids. There's a place. Oh yeah, I was there yesterday. I was there on Monday.
That you do this
with the psychology. There's something called retrospective and proactive learning.
All right.
Right. Yes, I remember when we were kids. There's a place called Forest in Tamale. And I am happy about the current position taken by the mayor of Tamale. Even though he's an MPP, I disagree with him in a lot of things. But I always commend him for trying to sanitize and ensure discipline. Now, I remember those days, people were going there to ease themselves. Now, there were people, and others were also going there to smoke weed. At any point in time, you have military and police who they'll go there and arrest everybody. Now, assuming that this kind of outrageous, dangerous, outmoded suggestions of this first deputy speaker was something that was going to be implemented, kill people, unarmed people, what would have been the consequences? So let's call a spade and not a big spoon. The man made a statement, and for me, he should be apologizing by now. He should be apologizing to the people of this country for having engaged in such recklessness. Don't embellish it.
No, I'm not.
You are trying to just protect
I'm not embellishing it. I'm not embellishing it. Right.
I wanted us to touch on the bus issue. Yeah,
you see,
quickly.
Let's not take undue advantage of what, and then go into an overkill. And in the process, you may be raising a storm in a teacup, or killing an ant with a sledgehammer. I am saying to you that even in Parliament, the report that you read said that there was some division.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
You understand? And I'm
division
saying,
on what?
On the shoot to kill order by.
But we all watch TV and listen to
but I'm saying to you that yes, the narrative you give, you come from the area, and you brought in the burning of tracks.
Yes.
For political expediency, I can understand that. You want some votes from this, no problem.
No, I'm not from that area.
No problem.
I'm not from that
constituency. The fact of the matter is that the ordinary policeman who was killed just in his performance of his duty also is Ghanaian and also has family.
All right.
Now, what has that got to do?
That is why I'm saying that.
Gentlemen,
That is what I'm saying to you. That is what I'm saying to you. That kind of situation. That kind of situation.
Is that the same?
I'm grateful.
Who says I'm accepting? Who says I'm accepting your position that this was made only in reference to Sun winning? It was not. It was made to armed robbers.
A former member of Parliament for Nanton, a member of the NDC. Gentlemen, I'm grateful.
Yes,
we ran out of time. I'm grateful for your time this Wednesday morning. Stay with us if you're sending your comment. We'll read them. We're back.
Welcome back. We apologize for that. But there is a drug out there on the market. It's supposed to be used for its benefit. But some people are abusing it, and it's of concern to us as Ghanaians. We will be talking about that. But let's see the effects of tramadol.
An over-the-counter synthetic opioid drug released in 1995 to curb pain. It stands abused on many fronts, especially by those who are aware of what it can do, yet choose to live oblivious of its potency, or by those who just don't know the dangers associated with its misuse. That's the alarming case of tramadol on majority of the Ghanaian youth these days. From the palaces through the churches and straight down onto the ghettos, the great expectations that erupt before tramadol pills are swallowed in the right doses or overdosed cannot be explained with words. The testimonies are shocking, and the temptation to try a tablet or two that would squander your life and leave you hooked may be closer than ever. So, what do you need to know before you toss those pills down your throat?
And to answer that question of what you need to know before you throw those pills down your throat, I have a pharmacist in studio to discuss that with me in the person of Isaac Kintor. Good morning.
Good morning.
So Isaac, tramadol, we saw the video out there, is indeed in the market. People are buying it to abuse it rather than to use it for its benefits. But tell us, what drug is tramadol?
Good morning to my viewers. I'm Isaac Kintor. Tramadol, as the initial video was talking about, is a painkiller, but it falls under the opioid class of painkillers. Basically, it's related to morphine, codeine, other class, but it's a bit different from paracetamol, diclofenac, in that tramadol acts on a receptor called the opioid receptor in the brain, and in that regards, it prevents the reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine. And in that regards, it brings about the effects of people not able to feel the pain just from the brain side.
Right.
So deceiving the brain that the pain is not there. But in that way to inhibiting the reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine, it comes with side effects, which most people don't really observe or pay attention to at the initial stage. Some of such effects will be low level of alertness, suicidal effects. It also leads to sexual dysfunctioning, which most of the youth think that initially they benefit in that regard, so they try to abuse it. But at the long run, because it inhibits the serotonin and norepinephrine, it inhibits the sexual desire at the long run.
So before we delve into the main details of tramadol, I want you to explain to viewers or people who take it, because right now the scare is some doctors have prescribed tramadol, and so if my doctor knows it can lead to these things, why are they giving it to me?
Basically, almost all drugs and even food itself, food that we take has side effects. It depending on the amount and the duration that you take medication, that will let you get the adverse side effects. Some side effects are not life-threatening and might not cause any danger to you. Tramadol will be prescribed based on the benefit and side effects ratio. When the doctor sees that this kind of pain that you are having, when he gives you tramadol for a short period at the recommended dosage, you will not have the side effect or the threatening side effects. It will be given to you, and means that tramadol is given only by prescription. And going over the counter to request for tramadol, I don't think should be given. And even if a doctor even prescribes it, it should be within a short frame of time, not for a prolonged use. If it's for prolonged use, then the doctor has to review the patient and weigh the benefits to the side effects.
All right. So tell us some of the side effects when tramadol is taken in the correct dosage.
Okay, for almost all oral medications, they come with GIT disturbances. Okay. That is nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. But prominent with tramadol will be the constipation. Yes, constipation comes with tramadol. And all these side effects comes at beginning, maybe first dose or second dose, you find it. But later, those ones are not life-threatening and they will diminish. Okay. But life-threatening one will set in later when you take for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what constitutes an overdose or the abuse? At what doses are people taking these drugs to give them that extra feel of being high or the euphoria that comes with it?
Currently, tramadol, I can't even mention the quantity that the youth are taking it. There are some that the normal dose on the strain that comes on the market, which are registered, would be between 50 milligram to, let's say, 100. The maximum might be 200, and that one, it might be a prolonged release. Means that when you take it, it will take long for it to take effect in your body, and it will last longer. So the duration and the frequency will be decreased. But the ones that we hear of that being abused comes in the strength of like 225, which means that it's even more than the 200, which in the normal prescription will be given at a lower dose, or the frequency decrease. And we can't tell the quantity that it takes, the 225 milligram. So I think sitting here, I can't tell you the amount that the people take, but I know they take in a large quantity. Yes.
So you are in the pharmaceutical, field, and so you should be able to have a fair idea of where these drugs even come from to get into our system. Because if it's not registered, then certainly it shouldn't be on the market, but people have access to it.
That is very, very true. There are regulatory bodies on the field, or we have the FDA, the Pharmaceutical Society of PHGH, and the Pharmacy Council, who regulates the pharmacy practice and the drug on the market. Coming to those on the market, whether registered or not registered, I think basically it's the responsibility of the FDA to register the product on the market and do post-market surveillance, or go on the market and find out where they are coming from. People might bring products from all over through the ports, through all the borders, and all sort of. People even put it in their bags, not to come and sell in a large quantity, but they bring it in their bag, and they bring it as often as they go out and come in. So that one, the FDA can track that. Yes. So,
but before you, let's just touch on another part, because I'm interested in finding out. I have a brother or a sister at home whom I suspect is using tramadol. What signs and symptoms would I see to even be alert and then send this person to a facility for help?
As I indicated earlier on, you realize that there's change in mood of the person. The person can't pay attention. The person will become overexcited, hallucination, and the person withdraws from people. So it depends on the initial behavior of your relative. If you know that this kind of person is not that aggressive or not that reserved, but after some period you realize that this person don't come closer to the family or members, or the person is not even able to eat well, or even to associate with members, then you have to suspect certain kind of, you have to probe further to find out what is really causing that.
Right. But finally, I would also want to find out other people who abuse the regular doses, because you're talking about the 225, but say if I prescribe 50 milligram for my patient, those patients could then buy extra amounts of the 50 and abuse that. Is that possible in Ghana?
Ideally, it shouldn't be. As I indicated earlier on, that tramadol usage should be limited to a short period. Given the recommended dosage for even a longer period can also bring about the side effects, the threatening side effects. People might request for tramadol after they have been prescribed for a short period, then they realize that the pain is going or is gone, but after some period they had the same episode of symptoms and they bring the strip or the sachet or the pack requesting for it. It shouldn't be dispensed at that level. It shouldn't. And even if it's a prescription that is coming, as I indicated, the duration, you have to be monitored. So for a pharmacy, I think that they will review the quantity, even if it's a prescription. They might not give it beyond certain limits.
But that's talking about the ideal situation, because not all pharmacy shops are run by pharmacists.
Yes.
So those that have chemical sellers, they just give the prescriptions.
That is it. Tramadol is not supposed to be sold at the chemical level.
Right.
It's supposed to be sold at the pharmacy, where pharmacists are present. Not pharmacy where pharmacists are not present. Because per the regulation, it's supposed to be prescribed and dispensed or supervised by a pharmacist. And at that instances, I would not be able to justify why they do that, but it might happen, and that's why people might be having access to it, because maybe they are getting from chemical shop or even open market, which might not be even a building or anything. So people can get it maybe from a park, someone moving around in a lorry park or wherever. They can get it. But for a pharmacy that they have a pharmacist present and the person coming with a prescription, it has to be reviewed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finally, just tell me the color and the shape of tramadol so everyone can look out for that.
Tramadol with medicines, I cannot state a particular color because different companies have
different brands, but typically it's blue and white, isn't it, in a capsule form?
Yeah, it's a capsule form, most of them. We have a green, white also as well.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So any drug that looks like that may be tramadol. But guys, we tried to teach you a little more about tramadol and its abuse and the increased use on the market. And so if you have a friend, a sister, or a brother who uses something that looks like tramadol or has the signs and symptoms we just spoke about, do make sure you send that person to a hospital facility to be checked out. I hope you keep yourself safe. We have more here on you for New Day. Stay with us. A happy birthday to Nanesi Hammond of Winneba, Elmina rather. You're the sister of Pearl Hammond here at TV3, and also to Elizabeth Wardy of Mampong Nursing School, I think. Happy birthday to you, coming from Teresa here at TV3 as well.
And let me say happy birthday to Richard Nutako. Richard Nutako is our online manager here. He's a Bleobi, a proud one. Yeah, slim macho. I don't know where all the food he eats goes.
He metabolizes it fast. He breaks it down fast. That's all.
So he's wasting the food.
So it's going into his height.
So it's not the fact that he doesn't feed well.
No, he feeds very well. Such people, they can have fufu and eat kelewele and drink malt on top, all at the sitting, and they're the same.
You know, back in the day when we were kids, when you eat, your father will tell you, drink more water. Then quickly they'll ask you to go and sleep. You want to go and use yourself, say, no, go and sleep. Don't waste the food.
Let us stay you. Oh, to our parents, God bless you for taking care of us and bringing us this far. It's not easy to be an adult at all. I mean, when you're young, you are aiming at growing, but when you grow, you wish you could regress and become younger. So someone takes care of you, isn't it?
That's okay. So it's a Wednesday. Tomorrow the weekend begins.
For you?
Yes, for me. I'm amazed at how 2018 is running. Yeah. We're almost hitting.
You don't want it to go?
I thought it will.
But the months are playing funny. Some go fast, others are standstill. Like January, we didn't think it was going fast at all. Then February came, we quickly transitioned into March. But March seems to be playing fair with us.
No,
it's neither here nor there.
14th?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
right. So tomorrow we're likely to see electricity prices dropping.
Hopefully.
Oh, if they remember the date.
They gave us. But when PURC told ECG to compensate all of us for what happened around Kolebu, Hachimota, Kaneshi, Bubashi,
they are still debating on how to compensate.
I bought some credit. I think last week I saw some 10 cedi subsidy, but I don't know where it came from.
But are you sure that subsidy wasn't there?
It was just written 10 cedi subsidy. Okay. I'm not too sure if that's part of the
I don't know. Anyway,
but because we're to have 34 cedis. For residential users. So maybe
10,
I'm so
counting. They're giving it 10 cedis at a time.
So, but tomorrow we should see the 15%.
Okay, so to be clear, before then you weren't getting any 10 cedis subsidy?
I haven't got
any.
Anyway, so this I got this from Michael Kote in Kanishi. He has a bit of problem. You know, there's a Vitamilk. He says there's a Vitamilk I think the deposit or their depot are around the Kanishi area towards First Light.
Okay.
And he says that the trucks park along this lane. I remember Community Connect has done so. The coverts on the gutters are always broken. And then this is how they
look like.
Yes.
When they get broken.
Yes, this is how it's been damaged.
Settle it from the weight of the truck.
Yeah. Exactly. And the trucks are parked all the way along that stretch.
So a bit of history of that road. It used to be a double lane.
Right.
Until CP, after constructing the Kaneshi Mala Modoko road, decided to turn this into a one-way lane.
It was actually a double lane,
right?
But what goes here to First Light is what is
not
the one way. But
lane.
this one also used to be a double lane, but Oko Vanderpoy converted into a one-way lane. So if you drive from First Light, you climb up, you can come back onto the First Light. Exactly. And so this is how the trucks are parked there. But I find it amazing because there's the Bishop Park that the Vitamilk vehicles could use. So why aren't they using it? Is it a problem?
Because no one punishes them for parking there.
Because
look at
this.
They've narrowed the road.
Look at the damage. Look at the, because I know it is a Vitamilk deposit because I go around that area and I've done Community Connect from that place before. So I know repeatedly I've done it around here. And so this is an appeal to the AMA, to the Okakwe sub-metro of the AMA. Please deal with these matters. But there's a big one. We're told that this woman, this lady, is our big fan. It is a 106th birthday today.
Nice.
Comfort Nanekia Akuma. 106. Yes, and she still remembers everything. The 10 Commandments, we're told she still can read her Bible, audibly. 106, and we celebrate her.
Right,
happy birthday.
See how he's tapping.
I wish I could be just 100.
I know.
No,
God, I mean, it would be nice to be 106 and still remember things.
I
That's
just
the most
realized
important
that
thing.
God is alive.
God is alive.
Yeah,
He's always been.
God is alive. Yes, and speaking of God is alive, I saw this yesterday. It says, stop pronouncing God as God. That's why most of your prayers are not answered. They go straight to the security company.
I agree.
So the word is God, it's not God. Oh my God. And what was it? There's another one.
There's so many, Johnny.
Oh my God.
My God.
Oh my God.
That is when the fire is in you.
My
When you say God,
God.
it won't hear. So people, it's going to security companies. Let's speak right. It's not our language. We borrowed it, but the little we can say, let's say it right so that you can
some
hear.
people say spirit.
Oh, please.
It's spirit.
On that note, we'll see you same time tomorrow. Have a blessed day.
Happy 106
people.
to you, Mami Comfort Nana Ekia Akuma. She has my mother's name. Comfort 106. We wish you strength and health from all your children, grandchildren, and everybody else. And to Richard Nutako, it's your birthday today. The party is on you.
Yep. And to Nanesi Hammond and Elizabeth Warden. Have a blessed birthday.
Don't stop eating. Right.